Welcome back to the Movies Podcast, the show about the act of cinema. Listen up, folks. I got the real scoop. Mass State Lottery tickets are now available. That's right. Go to mslfilm.com. If you live in the Boston and New York or Georgia area, is that right? Lowres Wonder Bread.
Wow, opening with a plug. Beautiful. Yeah, and also Los Angeles as of yesterday.
Oh, shit.
It looks like we're locked in. So it's happening. We got a couple of screening dates that are available there. T-shirts. I'm wearing one of them right now. Hans is begging for the other one. And you can get them all at mslfilm.com. You heard correctly.
Are you guys coming? We were asked by a couple of people.
That's the question of the day. Aggie, now that it's actually happening and Hans is not going to Jew us out of our plane tickets and not actually show the movie, are we going? And which one should we go to?
Well, I think when we were talking about it, I think I said out of all the locations, now I'll have to think about if Los Angeles is available, but
that's rough. I don't know if I want to go to the West Coast.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to go to the West
Coast. That's right. No, I did go. I went to Los Angeles in 2023. So, yeah, out of all the different locations that are mentioned, Georgia was the one that I've been to the least recently. So I kind of figured that might be kind of cozy to show up for the Georgia down south, some southern hospitality, soul food, some good Mass State Lottery. That sounds good to me.
Mass State Lottery, mashed potatoes, perfect combination for this upcoming screening. Honestly, we're not going to all of them. We are not going to Los Angeles. I think we might be doing something through Zoom for that screening. It could be that or at least I'm going to the one in Georgia. I don't know. Hans has yet to be figured out.
Hans! If Hans isn't going to be there, why would I show up? I've seen this fucking movie.
Well, you show up to the New York one. That's how.
So that's what we got to do then?
So basically, we're trying to figure out, all right, when is it most advantageous for Hans to come in? Because he only has so many sick days this year. He can't, and it's really not going to work between Georgia and then Boston picks up on the 25th, and then New York is the 27th, Los Angeles 28th. There's some things we have to figure out regarding that, but so far, Hans and I are intending to go to the Boston and New York screenings of Mass State Lottery. I think Georgia might be on the... Well, we got to figure it out. We got to talk about that off mic.
Hans, you better go to all of them, because if you're not there...
It's kind of awkward, because it's what, in the middle of the week before, so it's not like I can just use the same, the days straight to go from that one to the other one.
Right. So here's what you would really have to do. You would have to fly in from Costa Rica and then go back and then come back.
Yeah, on Wednesday. Well, when's the 25th? Like a Wednesday, right?
It's something like that. Yeah, no, these are all
at weekdays. The premiere, some New York snobby critic is going to see it and be, that Hans, he's the next Oscar winner. And then you'll never have to go back to that hellhole country. You're going to stay in America as a Hollywood movie star.
Yeah, is that what they sound like?
Yeah, Ralph is going to cast you in his next short film, and it's going to be straight to the moon for Hans.
Wow. Oh, Hans, you just muted yourself before talking.
Yeah, it was clear in my throat. I don't know if we should be bad-mouthing Ralph, who's coming on the show, finally.
That's the other big news. We haven't even mentioned today we're reviewing a Friedkin film, To Live and Die in L.A., but we'll get to that, because even bigger news, Ralph, the movie maker's actually going to be on your podcast. Is that true?
That, you know what, we haven't recorded it yet, so nothing is true until it happens, but there have been conversations, and how about this? We got an even bigger name than Ralph that's going to be coming
Impossible!
On the podcast.
Who's bigger than Ralph?
I can't share on this
King
on
Ralph
this
himself
recording.
is usurped?
Wow.
I mean physically bigger, larger than Ralph.
Oh.
So. I know a man who is referred to as Ralph, but his first name is something different besides Ralph, and he might be physically larger. I got to meet him at a screening once. Back in 2020. His name's Ethan Ralph, for the record.
Ethan Ralph. Wow.
That'd be a good get for that show.
Well,
you think he's into movies?
Agree to disagree. I don't actually mind Ethan Ralph. I thought didn't he die? I thought he died.
He might have tried to on papers. He might have been running away through a few different countries, but last time I checked, he actually lost quite a bit of weight, actually, and he might be back and better than ever. He still goes live on one of those websites with his show. There's a girl I know who did a co-hosting maybe a month ago or something. So he's still doing his thing,
Okay.
Wait, didn't he move to Mexico so he could marry a 13-year-old or something?
I think he was fleeing somebody or some legal something or other
right.
that they wouldn't extradite him. But you know what? Hey, he's got enough money for 3 houses. I got to respect it.
Let's talk about the superior Ralph. what is the plan? You guys going to review a movie with him? You going to interview him?
It'll be a little bit of both. I wanted to see if he was interested in talking about the James Gunn Superman movie, but his schedule for July is, I guess, pretty packed. So we're going to talk about the Richard Donner Superman movie instead, which
it's pretty packed. Mm-hmm.
Hans was, well, he's got events, he's got appearances to make.
He's got candles to make.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about the original Superman movie in the lead up to that.
Yeah, so I have to watch that piece of shit movie again. That's great.
It's not a piece of shit movie. It's just an old movie. He doesn't. We've got all these plans to do some early to mid 20th century films, and one of them happens to be in black and white. And you should have seen how repulsed Hans was at the prospect of having to watch a black and white movie.
It's a 1942 black and white movie.
If it's not Clerks,
If it's not Triumph of the Will, Hans is not into it.
Oh, sorry. I'm supposed to be excited about watching 1945's The Fountainhead. Oh, I'm really looking forward to that one.
We just did a video on The Jazz Singer, and that was mostly a silent black and white film. And
the original one?
Yeah. It was somewhat KINO in some aspects.
Are you going to do the Neil Diamond remake from the 80s?
Isn't that a blackface movie? Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Well, did they do blackface in the 80s one?
I don't think so.
Oh, it's too bad.
I think they got rid of that. Yeah, they went woke.
Hey, listen, if you're going to be able to have a Jewish man explore his culture in both renditions and you can't allow him to explore his connection to his black brother in both of them, then as far as I'm concerned, all of the soul's torn out and complete garbage.
So true.
So I think...
What's the connection? The curly hair? Is that...
Well, Neil Diamond's Jewish, too. Are you thinking
Can
between
he sing
Al
with the
Jolson
soul
and Neil
of a
Diamond?
brother, though?
Yeah, I'm thinking the blackface and the Jewish. I don't know.
No, Neil Diamond doesn't sound like black even whatsoever. They should have got Rick Astley for that.
No, it would have to be diamonds, right? For him to sound black.
Well, to be fair, Jackie Rabinowitz in the original film, Al Jolson, it's not like he's singing with like a particular black affect. I mean, maybe a bit of a minstrel affect. So I think that Neil Diamond could have probably still done that with his voice. He's not trying to, like impart a particular accent beyond like a minstrelized tone, in my opinion.
Mommy tone. He's not doing Ludacris
Oh,
in
mommy.
2002. It's what you're saying.
Mommy, I'm
No, that would be
coming.
the modern jazz singer if they
Yeah.
did that.
Yeah, just Southern rappers from 2010.
So to
EBTI.
summarize our intro, get your tickets for Mass State Lottery. Look forward to Love Line Volume 3 with Aggie. And what was the third thing?
The third thing is To Live and Die in L.A., the William
right.
Friedkin movie.
Oh, yeah.
Which there's a hero in the movies and Is It Kino community by the name of Dream Machine, who has paid both of our podcasts a lot of money, hundreds of dollars, to review movies. And thanks to him, we're slowly going through every Friedkin movie. And he requested that we have the two of you on here, and I figured, hey, we all owe Dream Machine our livelihood. Maybe they'll want to come on, and you guys like this movie anyway, it sounds like, so it all worked
I mean,
out.
that would have been nice if he paid us to watch it and
Yeah.
did it. He hasn't paid us in a while, as a
What?
matter of fact, Dream Machine. I think you're taking us out of business with this.
Yeah, I mean, he has
here.
done like 3 in a row for us, so maybe we did
Yeah, it
steal
would be
your
nice
business.
to have a series like of Friedkin movies that he pays for every month we can watch. That would be nice.
And if he's in it
Director has
for-
maybe 50 movies.
If he enjoys like authentic, intelligent discussion of these films, I don't know why he's going to me and Aggie. Like he's picking the wrong show for that.
Or us, to be fair.
Yeah.
So
I learned a lot more from your show than probably any other movie podcast I listen to.
Wow, that's a huge compliment. Well,
You guys actually
I hope
make
it's not, I
movies.
hope it's worthwhile shit, and
Yeah.
not just useless knowledge.
You also-
like Hans
You
hates
listen-
black and white movies.
You guys get a lot
listen
of.
to any other movie. Tell me other movie podcasts that you listen
So
to.
I listened to Blank Check with Griffin and David. The
I listened to them
Flophouse.
today.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of them, and maybe they're more educational than you two, but you guys provide perspectives that I think they wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. So it's more educational in terms of seeing movies through lights and visions maybe you wouldn't otherwise. So my recommendation of the day is the Movies Podcast.
Wow, MSLFilm.com and movies. Big plugs on this episode. This
It's
is
been a
great.
long time coming for that movie, and I've been giving you shit, and now that it's actually happening, I have to plug it as much as possible. It's only fair.
It's appreciated, and honestly, this new one with you guys in it, I think it's going to be even better. I think it's really funny. So, look forward to that next year, or maybe in 7 years. We'll see.
Is that did we reveal before that we're in this new movie?
I think we did. Yeah. When we talked about Rust, it was somewhere mixed up in those 3 hours that we mentioned that. So,
which we did have a poll on the Rust episode of what we should review in the future, and I think the Rocky and Bullwinkle movie won, which is good news for me and Hans.
I just saw in person, I think, the screenwriter of that movie. I'm pretty sure he wrote he directed Manchester by the Sea. When I looked up, I was like, who is this guy? Because I love the movie Manchester by the Sea. They were playing it at, what is the theater? Sorry, I can't remember the theater in New York that Netflix bought. Hans, maybe you can look it up real quick. But they were doing screenings. I saw Vox Lux with Brady Corbet in person. He was doing a Q&A. And then they did Manchester by the Sea. And I looked this guy up because I was not familiar with anything else he did. He only directed 3 movies. And under his credits was writer, the Rocky and Bullwinkle movie. It was
the Paris.
So he's been making KINO his whole life.
Yeah, I guess.
Are you talking about Jay Ward? Or Kenneth Lonergan?
No.
Lonergan again?
Kenneth Lonergan. Yeah.
Oh, he also wrote Gangs of New York.
Another piece of shit. Okay.
And analyze that.
Classic.
And analyze this.
Classicer.
But who wrote To Live and Die in L.A.? Why? I think it was one William Friedkin. Somebody me and Aggie are getting to know. So far, we've seen Sorcerer and The French Connection. Aggie,
well,
I'll ask you. Yeah, go ahead,
Aggie. Mention real quick that the actual author of the original novel, Gerald Petyevich, probably mispronounced that terribly, was involved not in the screenplay also, so he had a bit of a hands-on with the writing of the production.
Well, Aggie, as a newfound expert in William Friedkin, and by that I mean we've seen 3 films, where does this one stack up in the trilogy so far?
Well, I don't know if it was just the Dafoean charm of the film, something, a financial aspect, I guess. To be fair, all of the films have that, and The French Connection also kind of had that organized crime aspect, but there was something about counterfeiting that just felt a little more like something closer to home. I don't know. It felt like maybe more like I could see myself really on scene with some of these things that were happening versus like
committing financial crimes against the United States government. Really, like we're all on board for that kind of thing.
I just got another prosecuting attorney's letter today from a settled case, and I thought, oh my goodness, they're gonna. What else could they give me for it? We've already settled. No, I had a plaintiff who changed their legal name, and I guess on a previous case that's already settled, and I guess I needed to be made aware of that because I think it impacted, or they went back and changed the plaintiff's name in the original settlement or whatever. So
you try to leave your troubled past behind and change your name literally, legally, and they just notify everybody. Like, wow, thanks.
Must be.
I'm glad Aggie now knows my new name. I feel so safe.
Well, if I'm looking through my history or whatever, and I'm, who's that again? Oh, okay. Who's that one person that I paid $6,000 to last year? Okay, well, that makes sense.
I need some revenge against them for the financial debt I've been accrued.
But just comparatively to, being a mercenary, delivering goods in a South American jungle or shipping in cars full of, narcotics stashed all through the vehicle frame, I think, just something about counterfeiting. Willem Dafoe, too, it's like, who else would you want to counterfeit with? If I'm walking in and Willem Dafoe's, printing up a bunch of money and throwing it into a dryer in an empty warehouse, that's where I want to be. I don't want to be over here doing all this jungle crap. I don't want to be, shipping cars in big containers. That's worrying to me. It's comforting to be with Willem Dafoe.
I like this idea of evaluating movies based on which one you want to live in. And I guess of the 3, I do want to be in this one for sure.
Yeah, if the biggest threat is malaria, I think that's probably the place where you do not want to be out of the 3, where you have to fight mosquitoes. Out of those 3, this one is my least favorite, I would say, if you were to ask me about those 3 movies that you mentioned.
Well, the other 2 are classics. I think, actually, you know what? I would argue that in a lot of ways, this one's a classic as well. But Continue.
I'm not a huge William Peterson fan. I think same William Manhunter thing. I think
You're so wrong.
I don't believe his masculinity on anything. I feel like whenever he's being passed as like this badass cop, there's always a scene where he's either whining or complaining in a very bitchy way that completely takes me out of his character, and I just can't connect with him as like that badass. And yeah, Manhunter, same thing. And with this, I was fine up until the point where he has that scene. I think it's with the prostitute where he gets all whiny, and I'm just like, oh, shut up! You have gray hair. Stop being whiny.
Is that intentional? That the villain Willem Dafoe is such a badass, cool guy in every scene, and that our hero is a whiny little bitch.
It's weird. I don't know. I have a thing against him, I guess, because this is not the first time where I have the same complaint of like, I wish it was someone else, not this actor. Because I just don't believe him as like a lead, badass.
To your question, I don't think it's intentional or maybe the filmmakers here were aware of that. I'll call it an everyman factor. He kind of looks like somebody's uncle in the late 20th century. You'd see at a cookout. Like he looks a little bloated. He's not as bloated as CSI when he's just like, I've been eating hot dogs and hamburgers for 22 years. So I don't think it's that.
Is a captain scene where he doesn't get his way and he goes and like slams the door, and then he comes back and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, like that type of thing. I'm just like, oh, fuck you, like that. And that's within like 10 minutes of the story. So immediately I'm like, this guy's not this guy.
Well, they're setting you up for who he is, and I listen, I think they're trying to make him look better than his partner, who's like this little stringy, wormy looking guy that you kind of don't trust based on his appearance, even though he's the better of the two. And the arrogance of this character that William Peterson is playing here, Richard Chance, what a 1980s protagonist name, Richard Chance, and Rick Masters is Willem Dafoe, amazing. The ending of the movie is or rather the third act of the film was so shocking. Back in the 1980s, it created a reputation for this movie because what happens to his character, Richard Chance, is not something that had really ever happened before, especially with so much time left before the end credits. And it's his blustering attitude that winds up getting him in this situation where he's taking a shotgun to the face, Yeah. So I think it's intentional. I think that's all on purpose. But maybe you're being a little too harsh on William Peterson here.
Are you guys aware of the alternate ending where he, instead of getting shot in the face, he gets shot in the chest, and then they both survive? And then the last scene is just them that they were both sent to Alaska because they fucked up, I guess. So then the last scene is just them like bunking in Alaska, just being like, oh.
Is that how the book ends, maybe?
I don't know, but it's just an alternate ending that they shot. I watched this small like documentary thing, and Friedkin was like, "Yeah, we shot an alternate ending where he survives." And as soon as I saw it, I was like, "Yeah, fuck this. This sucks. We're not."
Well, is this a callback to the French Connection of just like ending the film and saying, "Oh, by the way, these two cops of a dubious nature have now just been shipped off to who knows where, and don't worry about them if they're alive," or something?
Maybe.
Like,
I think it
let's
was
kill
like a
him this
producer.
time. I've done
like
that
a
one.
producer's decision of like, let's give it a happy ending because you can't kill your hero, right? This is an 80s movie. You're not going to kill your hero. So then they shot the alternate ending and they were like, oh no, this is actually worse. So let's just keep the,
It would take so much of the spice in this movie out of it. I think that is such an important point that you continue on for almost another 20 minutes with this way less charismatic, nerdy guy who kind of sucks, and he gets the job done. So, the movie was known for that, and it was also known for the car chase that's in this movie, which has been emulated in so much media. I feel like Grand Theft Auto specifically pulled it for San Andreas. Yeah.
I think this film has the smartest synopsis I've ever read because it's a double entendre once you get to the end. I think it said a cop will stop at nothing to get revenge for his murdered partner. And you spend the whole movie thinking it's the main character, but it turns out, no, he ends up being the murdered partner at the end.
That's pretty brilliant. I like that.
Speaking of that, I think we should posit Lowres and Hans, when we had been speaking about the film just the other night, I think I was talking about all this cliche of the detective who's just about to retire, and then he's on his last bid, his last gig, and gets taken out. And we thought, me and Mumkey, based on what we looked up, it kind of seemed like this film might have been the pioneer of this cliche. Or do you guys know of other films that went to this before 1985, and maybe it's also in the novel, so that might add a few more years ahead of it there as well?
Yeah, we tried to
Good
look up other
question.
examples, and they were all post 85. So we couldn't find
you
one
have-
movie before that had like, I was 4 days from retirement, that kind of joke.
Yeah, you have like an indestructible old man, because the first scene where he pulls the Allahu Akbar terrorist.
Oh, right. Yeah.
He pulls him off the building, and then the guy explodes. At like what you realistically would say, that explosion took the old guy out.
Yeah, I
He
thought
was
they
just,
were all
in a
gonna die
perfect
from that.
fight. Yeah, but no, he just comes up and he's like, "Oh, my shoulder kind of hurts. That explosion kind of hurt my shoulder a little bit."
It's a good thing I retire in a week.
Yeah.
Better go
Yeah,
jump
It
in
feels
this
very
dumpster.
Lethal Weapon. Shane Black definitely watched this movie and was like,
yeah.
how do we make this, but for a more friendly audience?
Well, because then
there's
you-
so much overlap.
Then you also have that cliche of, well, I'm gonna retire in 4 days, but I'm gonna go do my last, what do you call it? Like
Mission.
One last
mission,
job.
yeah, where I'm gonna go by myself and go where the headquarters of the bad guys and see what happens. And it's like, what do you expect? Like, you're supposed to be retiring. Shouldn't you just be doing, like, I don't know, paperwork?
Now we got to send
But no,
68-year-old men on field work alone.
Yeah, and when his partner is like, "Can I come with you?" He's like, "No, I'll take care of it myself. I'm about to retire in a couple of days. Let me just go into the rabbit hole of where all the bad guys are to see if I can figure something out." Yeah. And then
Yeah,
you
nothing's
get,
really coming to mind for 70s or 60s. Or I'm sure, like, it's such a trope. It had to have existed before this movie, but nothing obvious is coming to mind at the moment. Maybe it was like I don't know. Was it like a Dashiell Hammett novel or some shit? Long Goodbye.
Well, I guess,
maybe? I don't know.
I guess Midnight Cowboy would be like, this is your last
one
mission.
last job.
Did Shakespeare ever have a character who was so close to retiring from being a court guard or something?
Was he gay? Shakespeare was gay.
Shakespeare was a black woman, is what I heard.
I've heard that too.
Yeah.
It must be true.
I think it's true.
I'm literally I'm trying to be sneaky and type into Google "one last job" movies.
Well, so what reminded me of it was my first touch of that trope was the McBain series within the Simpsons universe, because there's a whole scene of that if you Google it, like probably McBain retirement or something, where it's but it's obviously inspired by Lethal Weapon, because you got McBain, who's like an Arnold Schwarzenegger character, and then you have a black officer is being his partner, so that's where I get the Lethal Weapon dynamic from, like a Danny Glover character. But he's like, "Oh yeah, or live forever" is like the license plate on his car. And he's like, "Yep, it's gonna be so good to be alive, and that nothing bad will ever happen." And then they do a drive-by at like 1 mile an hour outside the restaurant and shoot him like 100 times. His entire body's covered in bullet holes, and he's like, "Oh, McBain, I think I'm gonna die." And he's like, "That's crazy talk. You will be fine."
Speaking of The Simpsons, I need to gauge the brain trust here, because I don't have anything against Tom and Jerry. I think it's a fine show, but does anybody else agree that Itchy and Scratchy consistently makes me laugh more than Tom and Jerry? Because I've been told that's a bad take.
I don't think that's a bad take. I
They
mean,
say,
Tom and
it's supposed to be satire of whatever. It's funny as fuck. What do you mean?
Have you ever laughed at Tom and Jerry?
Yeah.
I feel like classic Tom and Jerry is probably pretty funny. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've watched a Tom and Jerry short.
I think I would watch Tom and Jerry because he was on. It's not like I was like, "Ah, he got him." It's just like, "Oh, cool. Oh, he almost got them." I was okay.
But you like
You watch
it's
Tom
not
and Jerry like people watch sports?
Yeah, I just kind of
He's
like,
betting on who's gonna win.
Oh, got him.
He thinks Tom's going to get it this time?
Oh, I wonder what the socks of the black lady's colors are today. Like that type of thing.
It's like when
They were always
Krusty
pink.
bet on the Generals instead of the Harlem Globetrotters.
Yeah, her socks are always pink and green and white. By the way, I don't know if you because those colors. Right?
Professional Tom and Jerry watcher. I respect it though. It's a classic.
But we all agree Itchy and Scratchy's the superior cartoon that kids should watch.
That kids should watch? I mean, I guess. Oh, what are you doing? A Simpsons deep dive?
I mean, I'm always thinking about The Simpsons. I don't know.
The first 8 or 9 seasons of The Simpsons, I think, are pretty sterling.
Any other hot takes?
The first one's kind of shit.
You think that? No, I like how shitty the animation.
Back when they had like a Korean sweatshop making The Simpsons in season 1.
Yeah.
I like the Conan years, the Louis C.K. years.
I think it got really good around season 23. I think you guys are full of shit. You're just repeating what you read on Twitter.
Yeah, the non-binary Simpsons. That's my favorite.
It got better when Marge's voice was beyond recognition.
Yeah.
That's why they just killed her.
When Lisa's just trying to experiment with her sexuality, but then she's just like pansexual, so she doesn't do anything with anyone because she's just autistic. Yeah, that's fun.
The Lady Gaga episode, I felt seen.
Has any of the voice actors died yet?
Oh,
unfortunately, not enough.
Not the primary ones, but obviously you have like Phil Hartman died.
Edna Krabappel died.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Has Apu?
Well,
spiritually.
Well, Apu died.
They killed him.
Yeah, they ended Hank Azaria's run.
Carl, Dr. Hibbert, you know what? We got some more. Speaking of Al Jolson, you know what? Goodbye, Al. Hello, Neil.
Did they at least try and cast people who would do a similar voice, or is it just completely fresh? Now it's black voice, now it's Indian.
I think Lenny is completely different, right? Or not Carl, I mean.
Carl's completely different?
Yeah, doesn't Carl sound completely different now?
He is. He does have kind of a more natural aged quality to the new voice actor. It's still a different voice, but at least as different as it is, it's also shocking and jarring to hear everybody else's aged voice when you haven't, watched the program regularly for about 15, 18 years as I have. So
I feel like they changed Dr. Hibbert to, it's not even like an impression. It's just a completely different take on the character. But enough Simpsons talk. There's a lot from this movie I do want to talk about. For example, the most exhilarating moment for me was this famous car chase where it's a POV shot of driving into oncoming traffic. Do you guys have any clue the behind the scenes of how they make movies like this? Because, I mean, I doubt Friedkin's just taking his car onto the highway like that, but how they have so many extras to do these 3,000 car pileups in the middle of, I assume, the LA freeway. Like, how do they do this?
Well, I mean, they must have shut down the highway for that segment of it. I feel like the underpass is what most people recognize, right? There's a specific, like, body of water where the car chase winds up veering off into that most people know, and that's what's been replicated over the years. But no, I mean, you go, hey, Mayor, can we borrow the highway for a day? And then you would hope they would say yes.
Doesn't that cost like $50 million
in the 80s? No.
Not
80s, it was
for the movie to pay, but the city itself would lose that much money by having the fucking interstate shut down.
It probably, when it comes to things like this, I would imagine that the time is extremely limited and they can't do these 4-hour shoots where even though they need that time, they have to prepare. They're probably limited to only a select few hours. So, I don't know. Honestly, it's difficult to say. I would imagine, though, it's just the same situation as anything else, which is you're renting a stretch of the highway. They're going to corner that off, and then you got to get strategic with your angles.
Like that, what is it, Vanilla Sky scene?
The Vanilla Sky scene, yeah, where they did Times Square. Which on paper would be a lot simpler, right? Because you don't have, nobody's really driving through Times Square for the most part. They could have easily done that for any other movie, but they don't. They never do, because that's money. That's you're losing way more money by the minute.
But what's more difficult to shoot around, cars or the Browns? Am I right?
Like Meet the Browns, Tyler Perry's Meet the Browns.
Well, Times Square in the 80s, was that mostly a tourist destination, or was that not quite yet?
No, Times Square has always been a tourist destination. Actually, I think really as of the 1960s. And you can look up 1960s footage of Times Square, and it looks like Kansas. It's so nice. It's pleasant.
Well, if it's tourists, Hans, would there be really that many Browns there?
Yeah, the Browns are not who you have to worry about in Times Square.
You racist fuck.
I never said tourists. I never said tourists. Yeah. Have you been to Times Square?
You said the Browns. I'm just assuming people on vacation visiting New York. No, I didn't. I was a white family.
The one that stay there, that should not be there. That's the ones that I mean.
Why are they going to a tourist destination every day? Just hanging out?
So they can mug tourists?
Begging for Hamilton tickets?
So they can, they rob tourists and walk around with their phones.
Try to catch the impractical jokers cutting in line and getting in trouble?
Yeah. Try for them to say the N-word like in Actors, right? Lowres?
Actors the movie. Whoa, an Actors reference. How about that? You know, my favorite thing about coming back to Massachusetts is the homeless white people. You know, you don't ever get homeless white people in New York. They're always some shade of something. But I saw some homeless white man laying outside of Popeyes and harassing a 15-year-old, like, chubby boy on a scooter and saying, "You've got to be a man."
That might have just been me on the scooter. You know, I do get harassed by people. They yell at me when I go pick up my McDonald's bag and it's hanging off my handlebars, and they say, "You don't need that, boy."
Have you had to scoot past any homeless people on the sidewalk? Because I saw a deranged man who was just shouting at himself and doing this while walking all the way from under the bridge.
You have homeless people in Iowa?
That's amazing.
I mean, they have camps out there that we use to film movies in. Like, we use their homeless camp as our set.
That's really cool.
Do you have any friends in there? Do you have any tippy friends?
Every friend I have is in this Zoom call.
So true. I mean, the only time I've really been interrupted by a homeless person was that guy that was out in front of Buffalo Wild Wings at one time, like flailing around. And as I walked into Buffalo Wild Wings, they were like chasing him out. But otherwise, no, they usually get out of my way for the most part when I'm scooting at them. You know, they know my insurance isn't going to cover them, so they're like, "Oh, we're diving out of the way. We're not going to throw ourselves in front of you like a nice rich person's vehicle."
All these homeless people in states that aren't New York just seem like scamps to me. Just jolly, happy, maybe a little unhinged scamps.
The guy I saw was not happy at all. I think he just did meth because he was just really going through it. He probably did just shoot up something.
He was dancing, you said, though, right?
He was like attempting not to punch himself in the face, I think.
He was
Everybody
doing a
here,
dance.
We've all done meth. You know how that gets to be. It's like your body's getting struck by lightning. You're just like, you got to shake around a little bit.
That's the Liver King right now, right?
Yeah, they let him out, didn't they? Is he a free man again?
Oh, yeah, no. I think, in spite of being allegedly, I read this, I'm just assuming it's true, charged with terrorism against Joe Rogan. Yes, he's a free man. He's walking.
Not a serious crime?
I guess not in the state of Texas.
Back to the subject of this is a movie where the main character is killed like 20 minutes before the end. I doubt this movie started that trope, but I'm trying to think of other ones. And Place Beyond the Pines is a great one that comes to mind. But Lowres, are there any movies you enjoy that also do this?
Well, the first movie that I can think of that does this is Psycho, right? You're introduced to the Janet Leigh character, and then they kill her 20 minutes into the movie. I think specifically this rug pull that occurs in the third act, I don't know. I can't think of any movie that predates this. And honestly, it's so rare to happen even after, because it's a bold move. It's a very big swing to take to continue on with your movie after that. When I went to go see The Place Beyond the Pines back in 2013 when that was in theaters, I left the theater after Ryan Gosling was killed.
What? You just thought it was over?
No, I was just like, fuck this movie. I signed up for the cool Ryan Gosling, Ben Mendelsohn bank robber movie. I don't give a shit about Bradley Cooper. Now, I did go back to the movie. I bought the movie. I watched the movie. It's a masterpiece.
It's
great. But I think it's one. If I had to do that New York Times ranking of the 10 movies of the 21st century, it would be in there. But at the time, I was like, nah, no, that's not what I saw. It was one of the few times I've walked out of the movie when going to the theater, and I was just very pissy about that. But otherwise, I don't know. I can't think of any other film.
Does a ghost story count? he dies, but then he's just the ghost.
Well, you still follow from his perspective
Yeah.
after that.
Yeah.
There's plenty. I feel like there's a couple of instances where you have an actor playing a character and then you swap them out, and then there's like a new version of them. But in terms of killing off your protagonist,
Does that happen in Mass State Lottery with a certain Buddy Duress?
well, no, he's alive forever on screen.
Thank God.
In our hearts and minds. Actually, you know what? For a project I was considering with Eggy for a while, it was inspired by this movie, and it was about counterfeiting passports, though, not dollars. And we were going to do something similar. But that movie, I don't have the money for that movie right now. That'll be in the future, maybe.
Aggie could film from his scooter some POV shots of him driving into traffic, and we
Hell
could
yeah.
just do it for free.
Might be even more realistic than this film because I'm
Just
actually
crash
gonna
into
get
a car.
I was gonna say, not to incriminate myself or anything, but now that the online gambling well is dried up, I was really taking inspiration from these crime movies to just start going. I've been taking notes on everybody who was, in the gambling circles with me. I think I might just go start robbing them. So maybe that's a new
Good
film
thinking.
idea. I'll imaginarily come up with a screenplay based on something that's definitely not criminal intent. Anyway, but to kind of be on the same topic of recurring things that were noticed in this film, the Friedkin signature, the vehicular-based scene that Mumke found it to be his favorite shot of. Obviously, I took note as well that this was once again I would consider it to be a high point of the film. Going back now that we've gone over the French Connection and Sorcerer, I think as far as the vehicle-based epics and scenes go in these three pictures, for To Live and Die in LA, I think this chase ranks above the French Connection vehicle car chase scene for me, and below Sorcerer. And I think what takes this one up a notch for me is just the preceding stakes. We have the the kidnapping, and I really thought that the not knowing why these, who I assumed to be just standard maybe cronies of Masters, is chasing and giving chase and opening fire, not knowing who these actually were. I thought that the intensity to have these people just popping out, they're stationed on top of different perches along the highway and the freeway and overpass and all these different things, and when they go down into this, I'm not even sure what you call that because I don't live in any big cities, but like this gulch, this little ravine or underpass or
The
whatever you
GTA
call it.
5 best place to drive spot.
That's right. So I think just having all of these assailants, is what it felt like, watching through the scene before you get more context anyway. I thought that really ramped up the action on an additional level, kind of in the same way how the elements provide this additional level of tension and anxiety, I guess. In Sorcerer, I feel like that, man, still a little bit less frightening than nature, in my opinion, so not quite on Sorcerer level, but French Connection, just the stakes felt a little bit lesser. That's just my take on that.
I like French Connection because he's chasing after a subway train. I guess it's just a normal train when it's above. But the guy takes over the train and, keeping everybody hostage. That was a little more exciting. But, the feeling of we're surrounded and new enemies are popping up everywhere. And the only way is to go up this exit ramp towards the cars. And then we get 5 to 10 full minutes of POV shots driving into oncoming cars. I could feel my heartbeat a little bit. It got me more excited than anything I've seen from 2025. Do they even make anything close to this anymore?
I saw some Netflix movie was making the rounds on X around Christmas time.
The Jason Bateman one? That had like a
so.
card scene in it, but it was.
There
I think it
was
was
a
CGI.
fight. There was a fight that was happening between a black woman and a white man for a gun. And this influencer lady who criticized me for calling Past Lives the most cucked movie posted a clip of this fight scene in the car, and was like, "Oh my God, how did they do that?" But it was literally just like top to bottom CG. It was horrible. Hans, you remember this? Because I feel like you had something.
I think it was
snappy
from
to
that
say
Jason
about it.
Bateman airport movie.
It could have been.
Yeah.
I have no memory. I just automatically forget all Netflix movies. But
I remember the lady. I remember the girl. It was really annoying, but I can't. I wish I
think-
even remember the name so I could look for it, but
I like a couple of things about this movie we haven't gotten into, which is I like that this is William Friedkin trying to stay on top of the trends, because this was what, like 85 that this came out, and the style of this movie, I think what he's doing in the movie feels very William Friedkin. It's extremely ambitious. It follows a lot of the tropes that you pointed out between French Connection and Sorcerer, but visually speaking, and with the soundtrack too, and having Wang Chung on the soundtrack, it feels like he's trying to outdo Michael Mann. It feels like he watched Thief, feels like he watched Miami Vice. Manhunter, I think, was the year after this. And he's like, oh, that's cute. You think you can do a crime thriller? How about I do your style better than you? And I think he kind of does. This feels so much like a Michael Mann movie in so many ways. It's terrific.
The typeface in the opening credit scene was very Miami Vice to me. That's the best reference that I could come think of immediately, but I'm not particularly Michael Mann pilled, as I would say, to know if that he makes a similar sort of. But it's very of the time for sure, very mid 80s.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the soundtrack feels very Tangerine Dream, right? Very much like synthy. Very
Yeah,
dirty,
he had
very-
Tangerine Dream did the soundtrack to Sorcerer as well,
Yeah.
and Thief in 1981. So there's that connective tissue there.
I think there's a very interesting way of how he shoots the filthy, dirty strip club here. That I think we're only in that setting for a couple of scenes, maybe one, maybe two, but there's something about the texture and the filthiness that you feel by those two scenes of how foggy everything is, and just the way that it's shot just kind of feels dirty and filthy, even though we don't really spend that much time in it. And there's something about movies from around this time where I feel like they knew how to shoot that, and now everything feels so sanitized that it's difficult to see a scene where it's in a setting that is not obviously like, you know, if you have a corpse there, or if you have like some type of overly gross out physical thing, that's what we do now. But I feel like that feeling of just, well, our character now is in a setting where he's not very familiar with, and it's also dirty, and like this is an underworld that he's not supposed to be in it, and we get that feeling of for this character in that scene, and I feel like that's been lost just because of how clean everything kind of feels on modern movies, and I miss that. I miss just you know, when Tony Soprano will go to the script club and you just immediately feel like, oh, that's like a filthy place. You know, it wasn't really shot in a way like this one, but there's something about the way that things used to be shot back in the day where it just immediately will make you feel like what the character will feel like if it was there, that I think has been lost in movies.
I think Hans is gay if he does not want to go to the Bada Bing. If we're going to judge things based on which one we want to live in, hey, Sopranos is not a bad choice.
Well, Hans, you said on the Love Line special that you hate strip clubs. They're not your vibe.
I
Yeah,
agree.
Yeah, I don't.
I'll be the voice of reason here. And I also want to say this as a frequenter of entertaining establishments. I would agree with Hans if we are having a picture where the club is based in a pre-social media era. But I will say, in the social media era, you know, I'll give them credit. They're trying to give an image that is not maybe necessarily reflective of the actual reality in the establishment, because you go in, you see a lot of people that look like me, except balder, fatter, with varying darker skin qualities. Might be a lot of construction workers, railroad workers, and whoever
pesos,
else.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's
Foreign
nice
coins.
not being the fattest and man with the worst hairline in the room. You know, it's nice. But anyway. But they try to kind of, they'll post on their social media. They'll have the women in, more full clothing and be like, oh, we got this going on. And, remember to rate us on Yelp 5 out of 5 or whatever. And I think maybe if we're having pictures that are set in this modern age, everybody's trying to have their business be as marketable as possible. And for those reasons, even like I've go to some dingy places, I tell you, and they still try. They'll put a fresh coat of paint on the outside anyway. The girls are still got things sagging down to the floor when you come in there, but at the same time,
Are you trying to say that Hans is so old he has not been to a strip club since maybe the early 2000s, and that's why he dislikes them? If he went today, he'd see it's a clean, nice place that he can enjoy himself.
He'll have wings and
I think Hans went to a vaudeville cabaret once in 1946, and that's
They're
why
doing blackface and singing?
Jolson was there performing.
You know what I went?
If they would just record this establishment and put it on film, this would be magnificent.
One of my roommates in Toronto, his girlfriend was like a burlesque dancer, and that shit is so corny. Like even back when I was like 21, I was like, oh, this is just fat girls with ugly tattoos.
They're always fat.
Awkwardly. Yeah, I was just like, oh, this is really not for me at all.
Burlesque is like the Reddit top hat, goggle, steampunk cosplay of stripping. Like it's really has no honor. You need women with bad tattoos and not the kind that the Redditors have. It has to be like a guy's name that's like misspelled. There needs to be a little sag going on, deep obvious regret, and a lot of very undereducated men who work physical jobs who do not show up to cosplay. That's not their bag. So burlesque, that's Reddit. You need to go where the real deal's at. Okay, you'll find out if you go enough.
There was a strip club in a town very similar to the one that I'm in now, and the one I'm in now is 70+% black people. And Kenny and his brother actually brought me to this strip club. This was like 12, 15 years ago. And one of the strippers had just a little touch of lasagna belly right at the bottom of her stomach.
You trying to make Aggie horny on this show?
So that's the caliber of stripper we're dealing with out in this neck of the woods.
Was she black?
That's it. Oh, I was
mixed.
thinking to one where she was Nicaraguan with a C-section. She was like 50 in like 2007. And I remember I wasn't even I didn't even drink at the time, so I was just like, fine, I'll come with you guys, I guess. And then we walked into a place in downtown San Jose, here in Costa Rica, where the walls were glass as you're walking in. And then I walk in, and there's the stage there where you have what you could kindly describe as like a
geriatric.
No, not even to like not 60, but like getting there, like your Mexican friend's mom is just dancing on stage, and she doesn't want
45.
She doesn't want to be there either. Like not even, when they go past the, oh, now she's just like a nice old lady, like she's not like a MILF. No, oh, look at your nice old lady mom type of thing. And she hates it. She's just dancing there, just like with like kind of an attitude and just like uncomfortable. And I'm just there like, who is this for? Like, what the fuck is this? This is the saddest place I've ever been to. But I was also not drinking at all, so it was just sad for
the
me.
worst combo.
Like this is awful. Like I want to rescue this lady, I said, but I was
You
like,
say, hey, this isn't like a Nora.
yeah, exactly. It's like, hey, there's no little young one here that I want to sadly have sex with. And
Hans took so much pity on this old lady, he got a backroom dance. Just put some money in her pocket. I really don't want to do this, but I'll put the 20 in your waistline.
Yeah, you know what? Fine. You have to feed your 5 children. Fine. Here's $10. Yeah, no, that shit makes me sad. I hate those places.
Well, I'm curious, what William Friedkin movie are you guys going to cover next? There were so many, and there's actually quite a few bad ones in like the 1980s and early 90s.
I still have not seen what's The Exorcist? Maybe I should watch that.
That's crazy. Wow, we've done like 7 shows on The Exorcist. I've seen The Exorcist in every medium and form. I've seen the TV version. I've seen it in 35 millimeter.
What would you recommend for a virgin viewer?
Go back to 1978 and watch it in the theater.
First of all, I would clarify, do not watch the version you've never seen before, which was a 2000 re-release where William Friedkin, and he does this a couple times. There's a version of The French Connection where the color's all fucked. He goes and tinkers with it. He's like, oh my God, the technology is amazing.
He's a George Lucas.
He did that. And That version, I think, is fine as like an experimental once you've watched the actual one, the 1973 one. But the whole tone of the ending is different. And you'll save yourself some like cheesy special effects that are thrown in. So I would say, honestly, just probably get like a proper HD copy of the 1973 version. That'll set you right.
Well, Dream Machine, if you got $100. Or maybe I'll watch that one for free. That sounds like worth watching just as a fan of film.
Have Dream Machine pay for a movie like Deal of the Century with Gregory Hines and Chevy Chase, or The Brinks Job, one of the forgotten William Friedkin movies. Jade, horrible.
Ooh,
The Devil and Father Amorth, that one's so bad.
Was that Friedkin trying to do comedy with Chevy Chase and Gregory Hines?
Yeah, it was terrible. It was really bad.
What year was that?
That was around this time. This was either before or after.
So he was doing hits and misses back and forth a bit. He didn't like fall off and stay off.
Well, Sorcerer didn't make any money. Sorcerer was
fuck
a flop
the money.
At the box
you know,
office.
hey, if we talked about it 50 some odd years later, that's success.
Oh, I agree. I completely agree. I think Sorcerer is terrific. But it put him in movie jail where I think he had to do The Brinks Job. That might have been after. And that stars Peter Falk. And he's a Boston bank robber.
Columbo himself in a Friedkin movie? And it's bad?
Oh, I didn't say it was bad.
Oh, okay.
It's just it doesn't feel like William Friedkin. It's kind of like a family movie.
I might watch that right now if Columbo's in it.
It's got Peter Falk. It's got Peter Boyle and Paul Sorvino in it.
I like that with your accent. It sounds like you're saying Peter Fuck.
Peter Falk. Peter Fox.
Yeah, Peter Boyle's in it too.
They do a Columbo porn parody, but he's not playing Columbo. He's just himself as Peter
Peter Fox.
Can we appreciate how William Friedkin is so good at using handicapped people, right?
Yeah, in my notes I wrote down Patton Oswalt midget in a wheelchair.
Yeah, you have Ricky Berwick in this, and then you have Al Pacino, who's Italian in Cruising, and he uses him really well too. So I love that he's so happy.
Oh yeah, no, you guys should watch Cruising next. That's KINO. That might be the best William Friedkin, actually.
Does it have some freak with a deformed body? Is that what sparked that thought? Oh,
that kind of deforms a person's body.
No,
I hate to say, because when you say Cruising, and I think Friedkin, I'd like to think it's a picture with automobiles in it, but also Cruising in the 80s, as I understand it, had a lot to do with gay sex.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
that's what
right.
it is.
That's where the fisting
correct.
comes in.
It's not a lot of driving unless you're driving your penis.
It's not a vaginal fisting.
It's a prequel to Bros.
Cruising is Al Pacino has to pretend to be a gay guy in the New York City nightlife.
Yeah, you're driving to the clinic to get some prep.
You also
it's great
get
though. It's so good. It's so dirty. It's like that thing of exactly what I just said about the strip club. Like this, every club that he's in is like a leather daddy, filthy.
Well, they use real
sweaty,
ones.
stinky. Yeah.
For that, William Friedkin got in touch with a bunch of like mobsters who owned these gay clubs around New York City and was like, "Can we just like go in here and shoot?" And they were like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." And so they got like real footage and they mixed it with actors doing their thing. And there's an actually interesting connective tissue between Cruising and The Exorcist, which is Cruising's based on a true story. There was a real killer going around New York killing gay guys at these clubs. And they found the killer, and the killer was an actor from The Exorcist. So he worked with this guy, didn't know it, made the movie, found out, and yeah.
You don't think Friedkin put him up to it?
Anything's possible. I've heard stories about William Friedkin not actually being a straight guy, actually having a Filipino houseboy that lived with him in his old age.
Well, the plot of this movie is the white guy's kidnapping an Asian man,
Yeah.
Yeah.
His dream
What's the
fulfilled.
line? What's up with him saying amigo? Is that like a California thing? Because that was jarring a couple of times where he would just be like, "Oh, I'm gonna miss you, amigo," and I was like, "What's going on?"
Was that
Why is
Peterson?
Yeah.
Well, he likes to throw out, what do you say? Just you and me now, sport. in Manhunter. I wouldn't be surprised if that was just him ad-libbing, thinking he's making the dialogue regional and familiar.
Yeah, just a little bit of spice for the character. We haven't really dissected Willem Dafoe's character much, and I think he's the most interesting character by far. And we first see him burning a painting that I assume is one of his own pieces of art. And he's this artist who's using his skill for evil to make these amazing counterfeit bills. And then, of course, the ending of the film is he's in his counterfeit factory and it's burning down. And this man who we are introduced to burning his own art becomes a piece of burning art and burns to ashes as his final moment. And this is the youngest Willem Dafoe I've ever seen. And I feel like Sam Raimi must have said, okay, I'm making Spider-Man. Let's have the final Green Goblin moment just be a complete ripoff of this other Willem Dafoe movie, because it was almost exactly the same.
Well, the same as Lion King, right? They also ripped off this scene, final scene where they're fighting in the fire, and there's a little Jewish man. I don't know, but I just reminded me of
I forgot there was a little Jewish man in the fight scene of the Lion King.
What if Timon from Timon and Pumbaa was fighting instead of Simba in the
That's
final
the plot of Lion King
1.5.
There was a man out getting the mineral rights to the African land and, pulling it out from everybody at a very poor deal, and all of a sudden he just starts immolating,
Is this earlier than what's that Dafoe movie that we talked about, Lowres, that was really early, Dafoe 2?
I think I remember. I forgot the title of that like 7 times. I know what you're talking about. He's playing a cop in that one.
Streets of Fire.
Oh, we didn't talk about Streets of Fire.
Did we not?
No.
Oh.
No, it was some horrible. I think Gregory Hines was in the other movie.
Off Limits.
Off Limits.
Off Limits. That's the one.
What did I say? Wild Ride? Yeah.
Yeah, he said Wild Side. I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is. That one was later.
This might be the early. That might be the earliest Willem Dafoe movie in general.
Really?
Well, no, I think he's like a main character in Streets of Fire, which is a year earlier than that, I think.
It says here that his first leading role was in the drama The Loveless, where he's the leader of an outlaw motorcycle club. That seems like a fitting role.
Well, Lowres, I think we've talked before about how we enjoy Willem Dafoe, but he's being overused in all these prestige pictures. And the odd thing is, I think he's almost always one of the best parts of these movies, but it's just because he's in so many of them that it's getting exhausting.
No, totally. There's an oversaturation that's happening. And it's not like I'm sick of Willem. Like, if I see Willem in a Robert Eggers movie, I'm not like, ugh. He's always good. I appreciate that he's always like bringing a real, genuine, earnest. This is not Willem Dafoe. Why are you pulling up Corey Feldman?
No, but I think he's in this.
He's in Streets of Fire. You may be I've never seen this movie before in my life. Anyway,
I can't believe that I've watched this and not for the show.
Oh, that's a KINO hairstyle. I should get that hairstyle.
Yeah. Very Eddie Munster. No, but he's always terrific.
Sorry,
it was just some black guy.
Yeah.
But no, he's always good. I think they just need to like give him 2 or 3 years to not be in a major movie, though. Because I'm seeing him in everything now. Is
he getting up there in age that he just wants to make as much as he can before he croaks? Or
probably. He would be at the cycle in his career where you're seeing John Malkovich now. John Malkovich is getting offered these really shitty movies. Like, I just watched Opus, the Ayo Edebri A24 cult horror movie, and he's in that, but he's like above doing that type of movie, but he's not, I guess. He didn't balance his books correctly. Willem Dafoe seems to have his finances figured out so he doesn't have to do shitty movies, but he'll take, it seems like, any competent director's project.
Did you watch his COVID movie called Inside, where he's trapped in a sophisticated sci-fi apartment? He probably filmed that in 4 days. It's a decent movie. It's just him the whole time.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad movie. I watched that on Peacock. I thought that was pretty good. He did another, I feel like, he did some Abel Ferrara movie, too. That was a COVID movie.
That was
Siberia. Siberia and Tommaso.
Yeah. Which are fine.
Has he won any major awards? Is he an Academy Award winner?
Nominated for 4 Oscars, but hasn't won.
Was he nominated for Platoon?
Is he going to end up getting a lifetime achievement since they never give him one for a specific movie?
Well, now that they're getting him for everything, I think that's what starts happening right before they give you a.
Yeah, either somebody like a Christopher Nolan will step in and be like, "All right, it's time for you to get your Oscar," kind of like with Robert Downey Jr. And you give somebody that meaty of a role where it's kind of a shoe-in, or you wind up being one of these talents like a David Lynch or Stanley Kubrick, where you never win the major award, but then they give you at the end of your life, well, we should have gave you one at some point. Here you go.
Yeah.
Is that what Tom Cruise is getting this year? Or the next Oscars? I think I read that. He's getting some sort of thanks for saving cinema Oscar.
That seems about right to me. I mean, he doesn't ever have a I mean, where do you put him, right? Because he's such an influential figure when it comes to movies, but it's not like his performance in Mission Impossible is going to get him any sort of award. I mean...
Maybe Eyes Wide Shut back in the day or something in the 80s.
Yeah, probably Jerry Maguire was the closest thing, or Rain Man.
I think him and Mark Wahlberg are very comparable when it comes to careers.
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg saved cinema too.
Did he get nominated, Marky Mark, for like The Gambler or something? Probably not.
The Departed.
Okay, he was nominated for that? He's barely... Fuck me, fuck you, go fuck yourself. Like, that's his whole role?
Hey, Tom Cruise saved cinema. Mark Wahlberg saved the hamburger industry. You know, I could really appreciate both fronts. I just want to say real quick also, in terms of Dafoe's accolades, he was finally last year presented a Hollywood Walk of Fame star, so he's making some fuck?
Movement. They waited that long?
January 2024, he was presented it.
That's crazy. Donald Trump had one before him?
Yeah, well, he was in The Apprentice for 20 years, right?
It's not Hollywood.
Mark Wahlberg was also nominated as the fighter for...
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, no, Best Motion Picture. That's not an actor.
And Daddy's Home, too. I think he got nominated.
Willem Dafoe was nominated for At Eternity's Gate, which is best known for just being that meme of him looking up, terrified.
Oh, yeah,
That's from that movie. I've never seen that movie. Apparently, he plays
Picasso?
Van Gogh.
Van Gogh.
Then he was also nominated for the Florida Project for supporting role. Shadow of the Vampire supporting role.
Not Poor Things?
And Platoon. Nope.
Who's the Poor Things guy? He'll probably put him in another movie.
Oh, Yorgos Lanthimos. Well, he's got a movie every year. He just cast Stavros from Cumtown in the new movie.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
That big fat guy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. That'll be... the trailer actually looks pretty good. Or I thought
Bugoni.
so.
I'm looking forward to... what's this new Ari Aster movie called? Eddington?
Oh, no.
You're not looking forward to that?
I was just on the phone talking about how I could not stand the trailer to that. That movie. Here's the thing. I don't like that these directors are now suddenly courageous enough to give their take on COVID. And Eugene Kotlerenko did the same thing with The Code, but I thought that movie was like funny and decently watchable. But I don't like that it's now Ari Aster doing that, and it's like, okay.
You don't trust his judgment? You think he's going to be shitting on our perspective? Because I think he might be a little more thoughtful and nuanced than most.
I think you're probably right about that, but anytime they do give those sorts of concessions, it still winds up wrapping back around to, well, this is still the bigger problem here. I don't know if that's going to be the case with Eddington, with the Pedro Pascal character and Joaquin being like probably MAGA Texas Trump guy.
I'm going to be on Joaquin's side no matter what. Okay, Bo was afraid and so was I, and I'm going to follow him into the end.
Wait, hold on. Are we pretending that Pedro Pascal is white now? Oh, wait, no. We're pretending that he's not white now, right? In this movie? Because we've been pretending that he's white for everything, right? He's Mr. Fantastic. But now in this movie, he's not white?
I don't know if anybody's ever pretended he wasn't. I think they're acknowledging what he is for the Mr. Fantastic thing.
What, Richards? What, Ricardo? Is that his name?
Hans, you know what it says on his birth certificate? American. You know what he bleeds? Red, white, and blue. Okay.
Yeah,
so
I guess you Chinese,
Mexican.
Mexican, Costa Ricans couldn't understand something like American pride.
All right, what is it?
Go back to the UK.
Spike Jones said that he's the image of modern day masculinity, right?
Spike Jones dresses up as an elderly woman and pranks people.
Yeah. So that's cool. Okay, well, at least he's playing a brown person, so that's fun.
What's the new PTA Leo movie? What's that about?
That's about like black revolutionaryism, and it's based on, what is it, a Thomas Pynchon novel or something? I don't know. I'm not that familiar.
Should I be excited for that if I love Leo?
I think so. I mean, it looks like he's going to give a real performance, and he's not phoning it in like Don't Look Up or one of these horrible movies where he shows up for a few.
Should we do predictions for the Oscars halfway through the year? And I'll say Joaquin and Leo are both nominated for these movies, and maybe Hans as well.
Who's the villain? Who's the bad guy in that movie? Because I think they got
PTA?
Benicio. Yeah, Benicio del Toro is in it. So Sean Penn is in it. So I'm sure one of them too. Wood Harris, he's back.
Sean Penn was very good in Licorice. I mean, Sean Penn's always good, but he was very good in Licorice Pizza. I don't know. It's too early to say, and honestly, the Academy always seems to ignore Ari Aster.
But this is the COVID movie. Maybe they'll pay attention if he has that liberal message that you might be expecting.
Yeah, I guess so. So Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, Pedro Pascal. I can't believe I've signed up to watch like 3 Pedro Pascal movies in the theater this year.
Yeah, are we doing Fantastic Four as the Fantastic Four of us?
I'm up for it, but I'm honestly starting to regret wanting to see that movie because I watched some new trailer, and it was just like, oh, wait,
everything
this
that
is Marvel
comes
slop.
out. Everything that comes out seems worse than the last. It's just like, stop putting shit out. Like,
Did you know that a Marvel TV show about a black girl being Iron Man came out last week? Called Ironheart or something?
Oh yeah, wasn't Neurotic losing his 55-year-old mind over it?
I'm sure the Critical Drinker probably got pissed about it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
That show was supposed to come out in like 2021 or 2022. Like they shot it a while ago, and then I think they had a crisis where it's like, fuck, we don't know what we're doing. What are we can't just drop this and then further sink the ship. And so now it's out, I guess, finally. Good for...
Well, I think Hans should watch it and report back to us during the Fantastic Four episode on how good it was.
Yeah, Dream Machine. If you wanna, yeah, I'm not watching that shit.
It's only 6 hours.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. 6
Well,
hours
if we go by our ruling, that is $200 because 3 hours is the cutoff.
So it's $350 for Showa.
Yeah,
is that right? No,
I think Hans should have to watch it for free to know what his people did.
dude, I tried. I'm gonna be honest with you. When I was in college, I downloaded Showa, and I was like, you know what? This will be a learning opportunity for me, so I can learn about the struggle of the Jews. And then I started watching it like half an hour in. I was like, it sucks.
You deleted it and got
bored.
Adolf Hitler, the greatest
cares?
story never told, and watched that instead. One sitting.
Hitler Sigma Chad edit with some trance wave music in the back.
Downloaded, what is it? My neighbor Hitler. What was that sitcom? My friend Hitler.
Our Friend Hitler. That's Lowres' favorite play, I think.
Yeah.
Based on a book, right?
Before we move too far away from Fantastic
Mein
Four,
Kampf.
though, this is a fat person I want to mention. They do have the Fantastic Four pizza at Little Caesars for a limited time.
Is it 4 cheese?
We have that here too.
Holy shit.
It's
4 different.
Yeah, it comes in
different
quarters.
flavors.
Cheese, pepperoni, Italian sausage and bacon, and pepperoni jalapeno.
Amazing. I might crack and do that. I haven't had Little Caesars since I was a 3-year-old boy going to Kmart.
And according
40
to this
years
probably,
ago?
Yeah.
this
Just
probably AI-generated article, it says if you make an order of $20 or more, you get $4 off your next Fandango movie ticket. So, wow, what a fantastic no
Deal.
pun intended
That'll cover
deal.
the Fandango ticket fee.
The extra that you have to pay in New York to go see it in the theater. I didn't know we were gonna watch this in the theater to talk about it.
No. I'll send you the cam rip. I'm not watching this in the theater.
I mean,
I'm not seeing
really?
Fantastic Four in the theater. I'm not giving Marvel my money anymore. I only watch the cam rips for basically every new movie. When did we last go to the theater, Aggie? Boss Baby 2?
No, we went for
We're going to see F1 because we want to see it in the seats that move. So we're gonna go pilgrimage to
was
see
that 4DX or something?
Yeah, something like that.
We just saw something that Mission Impossible and Lilo and Stitch. We saw both. No. We were going to see Lilo and Stitch.
We
saw
watched
Mission
the
Impossible
camera rip of
theater.
Lilo.
Yeah. That was like a couple weeks ago.
I saw The Hobbit, 3, or this is the second one in that, and it was almost watchable that way.
Well, it would keep you awake by
long.
shaking you because the movie's so boring.
It would also sprinkle water on your face and just like, oh, okay, I guess I'm awake. All right, I got you. Okay.
Those Hobbit movies seem like they would be nauseating to watch in the theater. Like the frame rate was what, like 60, 90 frames per second?
The second one has a scene where the camera is on top of the eagle too, so that scene was going all over the place, and
Yeah, they overthought that.
You get to fly on the dragon.
Yeah. No, wasn't it an eagle? Oh no, it was a dragon. You're right. What eagle?
It was a bald American eagle. You're just feeling very patriotic for a country that isn't even remotely yours.
So when should we do Rocky and Bullwinkle, and when should we do, I guess, if you're doing Superman with Ralph, or no, you're doing the old Superman with Ralph, because we also want to do the new Superman, but I don't want to steal you guys, all of your time unless you really want to.
No, we could definitely do James Gunn's Superman. We got Batman v Superman lined up, Superman the movie.
I love Batman v Superman. Who are you doing that with?
We did that with Film Gob, who is a primetime Zack Snyder YouTuber who helped usher in the Snyder Cut. He was an activist.
Oh, shit.
Got to talk to Zack Snyder. Yeah, he was one of the guys on the front lines who made that Justice League movie happen. So we talked to him. That episode's being held until July 4th, probably.
Well, I send him my best wishes or whatever, because I did really love the Snyder Cut, and I love Batman v Superman, especially the extended cut.
Yes.
Do you like
They're
that movie,
both.
Hans? I think you might not like Batman v Superman.
No, I liked it. I liked it the second watch. I didn't like it originally. If you go back 10 years or whenever it is that none of those movies, I was just like, it's horrible. This is miserable. It sucks. But then after seeing everything else that's out, now I'm like, this is not that bad. This is actually different. So
I can remember a time where Hans was a Zack Snyder hater, where he was just annoyed by those movies, where I was the lone voice saying, no, Batman v Superman is actually a great movie.
That's
it's
right.
Terrific. And the 3.5 hour one, the R-rated one, that's even better.
Yes.
And then Hans eventually changed his tune once the Snyder Cut did come out, and it was like such a departure from that horrible Joss Whedon redirected Justice League from 2017.
I think it's just that I can appreciate a crazy person, a crazy director that takes risks. I don't think you get that a lot anymore. So even in something like, what's the Army of Zombies or whatever? That was a piece of shit that I hated. But I'm like,
that was
okay,
bad.
so he's trying something different. I hated what is it, Red Moon? No, what's the
Rebel Moon? Yeah, those were bad.
Yeah, those were horrible.
No.
But I still feel like if he's able to get someone that can write, then he will be amazing. But I think
he works better. He comes up with better movies when he's restricted. He's one of these cases because he's got all the freedom and money in the world at Netflix, and the 3 movies he's made with them have been not great, not very good. Here's what I liked about Army of the Dead. I like that he shot it on a lens where you can't see like 75% of the frame. That's it. It's like, okay, that was the one thing of value. We got that at the end of the Justice League movie with Jared Leto anyway. I don't need to do this for 3 hours. I hate zombie movies. So, although 28 years later was good.
Yeah.
Well, boys, should we wrap this one up? I know we did plugs at the top, but Eggy, you got any other plugs?
Well, I just want to say I'll kind of give my final thoughts on the film here too. I also, having just recently watched Dragged Across Concrete, I appreciated, the parallels here in basically a couple of officers that are willing to do whatever it takes to, secure the results they're looking for.
Although E-Rich tried to convince us that Mel Gibson was actually a bad guy because he just wanted to steal the money that they stole. But no, he's shutting down villains who are mistreating the public. Who cares if he gets a little payday at the end? I think it's all
His
justified.
daughter had milk or something dumped on her head in a black
orange
neighborhood.
soda from Kel Mitchell himself.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, it's like what that Jesse. What this is MAGA country, right? You know, Jesse. What's his name? The black guy that said that he went to Subway at 3 in the morning and.
Jesse
Smollett. Yes.
Jesse
Yeah,
Smollett.
that's the
Yeah.
one.
American hero.
I was gonna say J.C. Eisenberg, and I was like, that's the wrong race.
Speaking of Jesse Smollett, did you guys end up watching Am I Racist? I don't remember.
Am I
No.
racist? What was that?
The Matt Walsh movie.
Oh.
No.
He
Yeah,
reenacts
well,
the Jesse Smollett thing. It's pretty funny.
Oh, I only watched Lady Ballers. That's the only Matt. What's his
I
name?
Probably
think
the best
Am I Racist was far better than Lady Ballers. Aggie, did you just disagree with that?
Well, I would consider them to be, different types of movies. I think
Yeah.
Lady Ballers is a comedy.
They're both
I-
comedies.
Yeah, but there is informative. Yeah, I think I would take them separately. I would take Am I Racist as an informative, eye-opening film with comedic energy as well. But Lady Ballers, I think, just as far as maybe how much I might have actually laughed versus how many red pills I was taking, I think that it might have balanced out a little bit more in Lady Ballers' favor. Not to say that it's some magnificent picture, but
Lady Ballers is complete dreck that I would never recommend anybody watch even one moment of, but I would say everybody should check out Am I Racist, just so you
Well,
could evaluate your thoughts on it. Maybe you'll have a perspective shift.
Peggy, it sounds like you were on a different type of pill if you were finding this movie funny. Am I right?
Pink pill?
the estrogen pill.
I thought it was really funny how at the beginning he says, he was my best friend of 7 years. Like that number was long or impressive at any point. I thought that was a very funny number because it's like, okay, you understand that it's long enough where you care, but it's also just a random 7 years where the other person's just like, yeah, who gives a shit? Like it's not long enough. You know what I mean? So I thought that was a funny. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you with that. With that.
Hans,
with that whatever.
Hans, you
with
should
a whatever
never
point, but-
apologize for speaking. Never.
Sorry.
That's right. Costa Rican man. He's gone through more than you. Sit down, listen, and learn something. But so as far as the film goes, yeah. So that was a parallel I like to draw, and just a lot of great cinematography. The original or earlier in the film, anyway, there's a chase throughout the airport that kind of almost mirrors sort of the car chase later on in the film. Just kind of a lot of collision and tension, anxiety, suspense. It really is it's a very strong suit for Mr. Friedkin in these three works that I've seen overall. It's once again, I think maybe I might have said the same thing about The French Connection. It's not like it's bringing anything completely revolutionary to the table, but what it does very well. I'll give this probably a good solid 7.5, somewhere in that ballpark. I think that is where it lands for me. Good film. I would definitely recommend it.
Did it bring something revolutionary to the table? I think in this podcast we discovered there's two tropes that this movie might have invented. The main character dies way early and then 4 days from retirement. Maybe this is a revolutionary film. And even though it's not one of his classics, I think it influenced things just as much as anything else.
That's fair, but I give pause in that it is adapted from a novel, so it's perhaps that maybe it's poignant in the novel. I'm not sure because I haven't read it, but I would at least first hold to give nod to Mr. Difficult to pronounce last name, the ex-Secret Service agent, still alive and well today, for the record, who wrote the original novel To Live and Die in L.A.
He based this on his actual experiences as a SS agent? Secret Service, of course.
Let me see if it mentions it anywhere.
Oh, did he also do that little feminine run where he's saving the Chinese man and he has to run across the bridge and he does that very feminine quick run? That was good.
It doesn't indicate in the let's see here. Yeah, it doesn't indicate that he based the novel on any of his own personal experiences, but he was a special agent in the U.S. Secret Service for 15 years from 1970 until 1985, at which he then retired to focus on writing. And in 1985, when he retired, that was the year that the novel was adapted to film, but the novel was originally published in 1984, so...
Okay.
I guess you'd have to
There you
have
go.
intimate knowledge of how to counterfeit money to show it off in the movie.
There is a blurb about that Friedkin worked with experts of counterfeiting to really get the process very... I mean, educational, perhaps. I'm sure it doesn't really work the same anymore, but I felt I was really locked in. I felt like I was right there with Will. I'm like, let's get this paper, let's get this money. He's got swagger. I mean, like I said, I'm not Dafoe fatigued, but when he's young, he's getting that paper. He's got the baddest bitches.
He's naked in about every scene in this movie, but we don't really get to see his giant cock at any
Dafoe
point.
edit, just waking up and just like looking in his dryer full of money, like. So when you Zoomers out there, get on that, because that would be motivation for an old head like me.
Hey, you know what they say? Guess what? Uncle Sam doesn't give a shit about your expenses. You want bread? Fuck a baker. Am I right, guys?
That's what I always say. That's right. He just copied me in saying that. I read one thing where I think they had to burn all the counterfeit money at the end of the shoot day because people would try and take it off the set. So you'd have to gather it and you'd have to burn it in a pile like the Dark Knight.
Yeah, they saved it for the Joker. Mm-hmm. Other than your movie and everything else we plugged, Lowres and Hans, anything else you want to plug in at the end here?
No, again, mslfilm.com. Buy a shirt if you're not going to show up to the screening. New York, Boston, Los Angeles, Athens, Georgia. We're going to be showing the movie. And if you don't want to do any of that, just go check out B-Bang on Spotify. I think more people are going to get listening to that because it's fun.
Have you scheduled Loveline 3 yet so that Aggie can join in and help Kenny give some good advice? And should people write in if they have advice they need? Or
we're
do they
going
have
to
to
set
pay
up,
now?
No, we're not actually going to charge people. I don't think. Maybe I don't know. I might take that back. We'll see. I haven't put out the advice column box yet, or the phone number that people can call, but we will set that up. I think we need a break first, and then we'll do it maybe later in the summer or in July, and we'd love to have you part of it, Eggie. So
yeah, we might do a live stream, right, of it. We were thinking about
doing that too. Yeah. Maybe we'll come up with some sort of variation there. But yeah,
I'll get my crushed velvet fedora, maybe some good shades. Be like, "What's up, y'all? It's your boy Pimp Player E in the house, man, with 2 G's, 1 in each pocket. Man, I'm about to twist your bitch like a socket, man. She might get unscrewed because I'm that dude, but you know what I'm saying? I'm going to be the one seeing her nude before you ever get lewd. What's up, man? How you doing, man? And I got that oil, man. I'm talking about that gas, not crude, man. How you doing,
Do you think
man?
Kenny would be offended by this?
absolutely.
No, he'll
not.
be like,
no.
hell
He would say
yeah.
you're
Speaking
going to
my
salt
language.
in an N-word there. Or two.
I like you had some guy call in and everybody was confused because he meant to say some girl was a nymphomaniac, but I think he said necrophiliac or something
Yeah,
instead.
he said he said something like that.
And then he was trying to troll you guys with the lyrics of your own theme song, but he fucked it up by not knowing words, so it was just confusing.
Well,
Yeah, it was
he
a
also
big
doesn't
waste.
realize that we don't know the lyrics to the theme song, so it's like
We get it
I
on
wonder what this guy's
most every night.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's your
So-
theme song, Hans. Don't look at me. I guess I listen to your show more. I don't know why you would.
Listen to my voice and be uncomfortable for an hour and a half? No, I'm alright.
Are you going to be like Greg Sestero during the screening of your movie and just leave the theater because you can't stand to be in the same room?
I've never seen a director who's done an in-person intro or Q&A go and join the audience and sit down for the movie. So yeah,
Really?
no, we're not going to sit with the audience.
That's a weird thing to watch the movie with the... Really?
I think
I mean,
so.
you can. I just
No, you can. I'm getting out of
You
it.
guys are
I'm
going to be
going
sitting
get a
in the
drink.
lobby? You don't want to hear the audience's reaction to your movie?
Maybe
Man.
I'll leave like a tape recorder or something.
Oh,
We'll
man.
see.
That's the best part of the 48-hour film festival was being there as people were horrified by what we made.
That I've done that one time. So we had when we did a sketch series, the first episode of it got screened for an audience, and it was extremely this was in 2019. It was very, I wouldn't say nerve-wracking, but it was like, it put me on edge. I was like, oh god, people are going to be watching this. It's my directing. It's like a close up of my face with fucking snot and like women's makeup and all this shit. And it was actually like a roller coaster because they were reacting and they were audibly reacting. They were laughing and then they were like repulsed and it was loud and it was like, oh, this is kind of cool. It's like
Yeah, it's the
I'm
best
puppet
feeling.
master. Yeah. So maybe, I mean, honestly, but like the whole movie, I don't know about that.
So should I save $21.05 and not buy a ticket and just come hang out with you guys in the lobby since I've already seen this movie?
I mean, you should buy all the tickets, really, and just make it a private screening for yourself, is what I would say.
I think you guys are going to sell out.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes. There's still a month before, actually more than a month, almost 2 months. Yeah. It is 2 months. 2 months before the last screening, anyway. We'll see. Hopefully, though, New York has been selling fast. New York's been selling well. We took polls before then to like figure out where people are, where it would make sense, because I'm not above showing it to an audience of 3 people, but obviously we want to get as many heads in the theater as possible. And I think New York and Los Angeles are gonna sell out quick.
You should try Kansas City. I love Kansas City, and I'll be there.
Tennessee, I think, was one, right? That had a bunch of people.
Yeah. Somewhere like Nashville wound up having a whole lot of people. It's because you're racist. They like you down there.
I was going to say, if one of these screenings, if we buy out the entire theater, then you guys would come sit in the theater with us, right? You wouldn't feel the pressure.
And I don't think they would.
At least Hans will. We'll see.
Yeah, I wouldn't give a shit. They'll just let me have a couple of drinks and
sit on
fuck it. At that point,
I'll make fun of myself. Yeah,
I'm bringing bottles into the theater one way or the other anyway. Even if I do buy just a $20 ticket and you're not there, so.
Should we give them a recording stopped?
I think so. All right, that has been movies for this week. Thank you, Dream Machine, for paying these two and not us.
Recording stopped.